Hello, and welcome to the first ever Gridiron Zeroes Football Podcast. I'm your host, Lucas Scott.
And I'm Al Scott.
And this podcast, we're dedicating it to general NFL news. We love the NFL, so we'll be talking about what's going on in the league. We'll also be doing some fun and wacky segments in between that.
It's going to be a weekly topical subject. This week is going to be a Pro Football Reference rabbit hole where Lucas breaks down a couple of weird and unique stats from players in the 2006 NFL season. And then we're going to cap off the show with probably the subject we're most passionate about, our dear Detroit Lions.
Yes.
We're both, unfortunately, fans of this god-awful team.
Passionate fans.
But it's a really interesting time for them right now. So we wanted to break down a little bit of the Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia era ending in Detroit and kind of where it's going to take us in the next couple of years here.
Yeah, so this week we'll be talking about the J.J. Watt signing with the Arizona Cardinals, Alex Smith departing from Washington, and the trade rumors that are surrounding Russell Wilson. So enjoy. So J.J. Watt signs 2-year, $31 million deal with the Arizona Cardinals.
Which it's kind of surprised, actually. I didn't that's not the team I would have guessed that he would go to. He seems like, first off, he seems like he's at a point in his career where you'd think he would want to go to a team that's basically a shoe-in to get to the playoffs and can be for a Super Bowl. I don't know, the Green Bay Packers seem like they made a lot of sense, but the Arizona Cardinals end up getting him, and him and Chandler Jones together, that's going to be scary. Their defense is better than I actually thought it was after hearing the news. I kind of looked into the stats a little bit, and they were surprisingly good last year. Yeah.
And while the Cardinals are not a shoo-in for the playoffs, they are not a bad team. They didn't have a bad season. They barely missed the playoffs last year.
Was their offense or their defense even they're better?
I think it fluctuated.
Because Kyler obviously is a beast, and Hopkins had a really good year, but outside of them, I don't really remember their offense being too good.
It fluctuated because there were times where Kyler was really good. There were times where Kyler was really bad. Case in point, they lost to the Detroit Lions this past year.
Yeah.
And Kyler threw 3 picks in that game.
But then they beat the Bills. So it's
off a Hail Mary. But JJ signing with the Cardinals was super interesting to me. I really think that it just comes to show that, players care about money, and that's going to be their first and foremost thing. I can't see him. I really thought that he would have gone to the Packers or the Browns or the Bills and taken a pay cut, but
taking a haircut, as they say.
Yeah, taking a haircut. But how can you say no to that contract when
I'd be curious to see what the other offers maybe looked like if anyone even offered remotely the same amount of money. Green Bay, they're a team that you would connect with him because he's played in Wisconsin and stuff, and they're right on the fringe of the Super Bowl, but they probably don't. I don't have the exact numbers, but they probably don't have the cap room to make him the offer the Cardinals made him, and he's just one player with also a lot of injury questions. He's not a guaranteed, I'm going to be playing 16 games a year and getting X amount of sacks. He could go out the first week or two and miss a big chunk of the year. And I don't think Green Bay was loving the idea of that. So they're kind of weird about free agency in general. So that's the one team I think he was linked to the most, but there are definitely other teams that could have used his services. And I think the Cardinals, if all works out, they're going to get a pretty good player, but we'll see.
Yeah. It's interesting because he's got $3 million in incentives. And both incentives. So one incentive is 10 sacks in the first year, 10 sacks in the second year.
Okay.
The last time that he had 10 sacks was 2018.
What were the Texans like? Were they good? Was that the year that they went to the playoffs and got smoked by the Chiefs. They were winning huge, and then they got smoked by the Chiefs in the second half. If I remember correctly, but
it's tough to tell. I can't really remember.
But anyway, he's very inconsistent because it's purely because of his health. I mean, he's always a good player when he's on the field.
He played 16 games last year, which I did not know. I would have guessed that he missed at least a couple. But he had 5 sacks, which is astonishing when you get down to it. He played 16 games and only had 5 sacks.
That's not very good.
No. Before that, he played 3 games in 2016, 5 games in 2017, played 16 in 2018, 8 in 2019, and then 16 again this past year. And out of those, 5 seasons, he had 10 sacks one time, and that was 2018.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I haven't actually looked at all the numbers purely, but that's a lot of money to pay for someone who, 5 sacks last year. That's not very good.
No.
But he was also on the absolute dumpster fire that is the Houston Texans. And
true.
We should talk about that a little bit too. There's a reason he was on the street and could sign with any team he wanted. He was released from the Texans because that whole team is falling apart, as it seems to be pretty well documented. The Deshaun Watson trade rumors have been circulating for a couple of weeks now, and Houston is just an absolute mess. And I don't know if he was just
maybe holding back.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
I can't imagine. It's JJ Watt,
He's never seemed like the kind of guy who just wants to tear him a new one. But there was a press conference he had at the end of the season, this last season, just saying how much of a terrible job they've been doing, and it's not enough.
There were very minor stories that would come out every once in a while.
Yeah.
About him having serious issues with the franchise.
So it's not surprising that they let him go, I guess, especially since he's a little older, and they probably saved some money by doing it, or maybe they didn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's an absolute mess there, and I think
and I mean, maybe that adds on to his season. He wants to shove it down the Texans' throat.
Do they play him this year? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head, no. Okay. I can't imagine that they would. But it's possible, obviously. No, I don't think they would. But, I mean, who knows? New career, new spot. Could easily rejuvenate him and bring him back to what he once was.
Yeah, I mean, Julius Peppers played till he was 36 or something. He had a lot of tread on tires when I think he went to the Packers, and then he ended up balling out he did, and then he went to Green Bay after. And he balled out for them too, at the end of his career. So who knows? It could be that kind of resurgence, but honestly, I'm feeling like it's probably going to be a dud. It's just the track record speaks for itself, and I wish him all the best, and I wish the Cardinals the best, I guess. But
so OddsSharks, the gambling site that I follow, have him at 8.5 sack or 8.25, 8.25 sacks on the season, over or under.
Oh, I'm taking you know what? I'll take over, just because I could see him when he gets there playing with his hair on fire for a couple weeks and being really dominant, and then probably slowing down. I don't think he would. If it was 9 or 10, I would not take the over. But 8 just in the area where I could maybe see it happen.
He could have 2 games where he just somehow rattles off 3 sacks.
Right. There's all sorts of weird things that could go down to make that number happen. But I do think he's going to play with his hair on fire once he gets that fresh start for the first couple weeks of the year. So
and I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, the offensive lines in that division are not bad. You got Seattle, who I think are shaky. They're not great, but I don't think they're bad. San Francisco, who I'm pretty sure is good, and LA, who I'm pretty sure is good as well. So some tough challenges, some tough matchups, but
another dominant defensive player, our boy Matthew Stafford's going to have to worry about with the Rams. So
very unfortunate. Fortunate for him, though, he's got the number 1 on his side.
That's true.
Yeah, Donald.
Yeah, beast.
Yeah. So, switching topics, Alex Smith and Washington agree to depart. Looking back at his career there, I think he spent 3 seasons.
I think it was 2. I think it was because maybe it was 3, because he got there the first year, had that horrible injury, I think he missed the entire next year, and then he came back this year. So, yeah, I think you're right, 3.
Yeah. So, obviously a very interesting stint with the football team.
Have they decided if they're going with the football team this year? Sorry, not to branch off.
No, not at all. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, they are rolling with that name for a while.
Great.
Which is just so astonishing there is a football team who actually called the football team in the National Football League.
I thought I remember hearing a quote from their ownership during this last season saying, hey, if we get hot and the name sticks, we're not really thinking about changing it, which is just so stupid.
So stupid.
Horrible. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Alex Smith, I'm telling you, he had like a pretty decent year last year, I feel like.
Yeah, you're a lot more optimistic on him than I am.
I really am.
Just like off the show, we were talking about the day he got released, we were talking about it over a couple beers, and I was much more adamant saying that I think Cam Newton right now is a much better option as a free agent quarterback than Alex Smith, and it surprisingly to me seemed like the unpopular opinion. I don't know.
I mean, it's like pick your poison. Do you want a quarterback with a bad arm or quarterback with a bad leg?
But the thing about Alex Smith is that the dude started last year as like the second string, and there were doubts that he would never even take a snap again. And when he played, he looked good, but he looked really limited. I mean, he did not look like the same player, and there's not his fault. I mean, it's the injury. But Cam Newton, he didn't look great either, but also he was surrounded by complete junk in New England, and I think he's just a better pure athlete than Alex Smith at this point, and he's younger, and I'd say the only thing about him that's downer compared to Smith is that he's probably going to be much more expensive than Alex Smith, and I think he's probably going to want a team to take a flyer on him for more than just 1 year, unless he came back to New England or something. But Alex Smith, I bet the dude's just like, let me play somewhere, like let me just get a shot somewhere. Like I think the team that makes the most sense in my head is the Chicago Bears, because it's a complete question mark what they're going to do. They have Nick Foles under contract, I think, still, but Mitch Trubisky, they haven't decided if they're going to re-sign him or not. So even though he had
I have to imagine that they're going to get rid of him.
He had a pretty good end of the year. I mean, they put him back in, and his stats are kind of good.
It really seems like Nagy hates him now.
Well, that's the thing. It seems like similarly to the Lions last year with Quinn and Patricia, seems like Nagy and I think Ryan Pace is their GM. It seems like they are also playing on a 1 year, one last chance kind of situation. And
I could see that.
If I'm them, I don't really want to ride with Trubisky. I'm letting him go. And Nick Foles has clearly proven he's not the answer. So Alex Smith seems like a good fit because of the history with Nagy. And even if they draft someone or they bring someone else in, he's going to be a great mentor. He seems like the right fit to me there. What do you think? What's a good landing spot in your mind?
I really think New England wouldn't be bad.
And this is where the Cam Newton debate started, was with this opinion.
I really think, that to me, New England is a system offense, and you can really plug just about anybody in there, but their whole dink and dunk offense seems like Alex Smith can still throw accurate short ball, and he can get it there. And if you have wide receivers that can catch it, I think that's like their downfall right now.
They have no one.
They have absolutely nobody. And who knows what Elman's going to do, because I think he might be a free agent this offseason.
Oh, man. Okay.
But, I really think that he would thrive in there. They have a good offensive line, so you can keep him protected. I think the worst spot would be Houston.
Oh, God.
No offensive line. Like, he would not survive there. But I mean, looking at last season, he started 6 games. He went 5-1, which you can't point everything to that, or you can't point him to that record and be like, that's the reason. They had a very good defense last year.
Yeah.
So I mean, but 5-1, he had 1,500 yards, 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, not great, but a 66% completion percentage.
Well, he also had better weapons there than anywhere he's probably going to go, because he had Scary Terry, who was dominant in parts of last year. He was a legit number 1 receiver. Antonio Gibson really flashed in the running game. Even J.D. McKissick was looking pretty good at the end of the year. And then Logan Thomas as their tight end. He kind of emerged as a good player. Like, and their defense was really good. So it was kind of a perfect spot for him, whereas these other teams, it's not going to be – I don't think it's going to be the same. Like, he's not going to have the same – he's not going to be set up for the same level of success.
The two teams that we said, the Bears and the Patriots, the only team that has remotely a good number one wide receiver is the Bears with Allen Robinson.
He apparently wants no part of being
who knows what's going to happen with him.
Right, yeah.
So –
I also heard the Jacksonville Jaguars might be a spot for him, which
maybe a good backup.
Well, that's kind of the thing, because if they take Lawrence at number one, which it seems like that's a shoe-in at this point, but he would be, again, a great mentor like he was for Mahomes, and apparently Taylor Heinicke, the quarterback of the football team, he said that Alex Smith was a great mentor figure when he was there, and it seems like that's a good role for him. And if he went to Jacksonville, fun fact, he also played with Urban Meyer in college a long time ago, so there is a connection there. Wow. But yeah, it seems like that would be just his role. He might hold down the fort a couple of games until Lawrence is ready to go, but I don't think we've ever seen a number one overall pick quarterback not play week one.
Yeah. No, I don't see that happening. I have to imagine that they're going to throw Lawrence out there right away.
What are they going to lose? I mean, they're at the basement of the NFL, and just get him as much action as you can and surround him with a couple of good pieces, see what he's got. Alex Smith doesn't make a lot of sense there, but
my other thing I was going to say is it doesn't make sense to me that he would want to go back into that role as a mentor, because he knows that his career is winding down and he doesn't want to be he's got all the time in the world once he's done. Yeah. To be that mentor
or coach or something.
Right? I can easily see him being a QB coach.
Yeah.
I feel like he'd probably be good at that.
Yeah.
But right now, he's probably looking for one last chance. That's why I think Chicago would be a good fit. I think New England would be a good fit.
I think just the question with him, though, and I'll leave it at this, is I just think that it's not about him being I think this would be a good spot for me. He's not like Deshaun Watson, who can cherry pick wherever he'd like to go. Yeah. He's got limited options. And true. If he wants to actually start and have one more shot at winning, if that's what he wants, or just wants to be a starter in the league, it's a pretty short list of teams. And, it doesn't look super great for him, but he will land somewhere. He probably will play next year.
Two other teams I want to throw out there. Carolina.
Maybe.
Reunion.
I thought about that too.
49ers?
Yeah, well, if Jimmy G gets traded, they're talking about him being the guy in New England. Yeah. That's a big rumor. So, yeah.
Wouldn't that be something he goes back to San Francisco?
Could you imagine if, the 49ers stumbled into, Zach Wilson and, also could get Alex Smith? They would be set up. They are one quarterback away from being a, force to be reckoned with.
I mean, don't count out Nick Mullins.
Okay. Well, let's – yeah, no.
I mean
that thought experiment's over. Yeah. They need an actual backup. Those two are no bueno.
All right. So last topic. And I don't know the full story behind this. I find it funny and I really find it ridiculous. But Russell Wilson trade rumors. Do you know how they came about?
It has something to do with the fact that Pete Carroll is seemingly doubling down.
He's not letting Russ cook.
He's not letting Russ cook. He's saying, we're going back to this football that won me a championship. Yeah. We're going to run the ball, grounded pound.
Have a good defense.
Which they don't. They don't. No. And Russell, with that, and also the fact that, he's getting absolutely clobbered by other teams in the division because their offensive line stinks. He's just sick of it. And he hasn't declared I want out, but he's kind of been it sucks here right now. And I'm taking a beating. And by the way, they just added JJ Watt in the division. If he does pan out, that's going to be a problem. You're already dealing with Aaron Donald, Chandler Jones, Jalen Ramsey. That defense and every team in that division is lethal.
Which one is it?
Nick Bosa. Bosa? I forgot. I forgot. But he's probably the best one. I forgot about him. Well, Aaron Donald. But
he's a close second.
So he seems like he's very fed up with it, and I don't
blame the guy.
No, and I think a big part of it too is a lot of guys are just watching Tom Brady go off in the sunset with the Bucs, and just year one he got there. He said, "This is what I need. I need weapons. Give me a good O-line. let me run the show, and I'll win you a championship. And I bet Russ is thinking, I'm like 32. Yeah, I could, and I'm a beast.
I'm a decade younger than that guy.
Yeah, and he's like, I could probably do that. Yeah. And as far as the landing spots, if you want to run through them, they're all kind of got their own flavor. They're
similar places that we were talking about with Alex Smith.
Well, the teams that are looking at him are the Bears. Or sorry, that's not even correct. The teams that he said his agent said that he would accept a trade to. So Russ never said I want a trade, but his agent's like, we're not thinking about getting traded out of Seattle. But if we were hypothetically, here's 4 exact teams that we would be interested in.
Yeah.
And they're the Las Vegas Raiders, Dallas Cowboys, Chicago Bears, and New Orleans Saints. Those are the 4 teams that Russell Wilson's agent said that they would accept a trade to if it was going to happen.
Okay. Let's start with the Bears.
Okay. We kind of a lot of the same reasons that we kind of just talked about Alex Smith. They all apply to him, but he's a superstar. He is an unquestioned top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
That offensive line is kind of too, right?
I don't think it was great.
They're very good.
I think they have like Kyle Long, who's pretty decent, and I think they got a couple younger guys, but yeah, it's nothing to write home about. It's I'd say in the NFC North, it's probably the worst one outside of the Vikings.
Yeah,
probably. They have a terrible offensive line.
So they got a good defense. Obviously, everybody knows that.
You think if Russell Wilson gets traded there, that Allen Robinson says, "I'm going to sit right here"? And
I think it's possible.
Or does he just seem done with them and doesn't want any more of it?
I really don't think he likes that franchise. It seems like it also kind of seems like they've been giving him the shaft.
It sounds like they haven't even given him a call.
No,
about
I think that's what he said,
which is unbelievable. He's been there.
Really, really astonishing when you get down to it. But they have, if they lose A-Rob, they have no weapons. They have Darnell Mooney, I think is his name, who was a rookie last year and was good. But outside of him, nobody.
Yeah, their running backs are okay. But Russ is like, okay. I just left the system where we're going to ground and pound. I think Matt Nagy, I think he gets a lot of flack, to be honest with you. I think he's a decent head coach. He's been there for 3 years, 2 playoff appearances, and they were a fringe playoff team one of the years.
Yeah.
And like, if he had Russell Wilson, he's from the Andy Reid coaching tree. He's not a terrible offensive mind. He probably could cook up some pretty cool stuff with Russ, I think. But it does really boil down to what's around him, because Tom Brady had Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Scotty Miller, Antonio Brown. Like, the list goes on. He had a ton of targets. Chicago, they would probably have to give up a haul of picks and maybe Khalil Mack to get him. Because Seattle doesn't sound like they're just giving away for cheap.
I don't think they have a haul of picks.
So they're going to have to pay a premium to get him, and you could build around him for the next few years, but it's going to be pretty hard with all the stuff you're going to have to give up. And I don't think it's the best fit for him. Frankly, I think the best fit would be the Raiders for him. And they have Derek Carr, and it's always seemed like John Gruden has kind of been ambivalent about him. Like, not like they've never said outright, like, we want an upgrade. I know Mike Mayock a lot will say,
but it really doesn't seem like they've also said, this is our guy.
No, they're very non-committal. Sometimes it seems like they're playing it kind of, I don't know, hit and miss with him. I feel like Mayock has been like a couple times like, oh, we love Derek Carr, but we're also looking to upgrade every spot on the roster.
Yeah.
So landing Russell Wilson in a brand new stadium in Las Vegas,
wouldn't that be something?
Would, for a new era for that team, would be a slam dunk for them. I think. I think they got a lot of offensive weapons. Like, they're ready to go. Their defense is not good, and they would really need to probably spend the rest of their draft capital and free agency assets to get more pieces.
Who was their rookie wide receiver?
Ruggs.
Henry Ruggs.
Yep.
That's right.
Which he actually was kind of. He's okay. I mean, he was not nearly as good as Jefferson. Jefferson or Jerry Jeudy. So, but in my mind, they're the best fit because of all those teams. They probably have the most assets around Russ, like just weapons for him to work with. I think their cap is okay. I don't know the exact number, but they're definitely not like way below like the Saints, which is why. I don't think that's going to work. But in my mind, they're the best fit.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure. I couldn't tell you the last. Well, they have Derek Carr's contract, so they would probably have to unload that. Which,
Well, he played.
They can do it. They could pull a Jared Goff.
He's played. The difference is Jared Goff kind of played like a pumpkin for a lot of last year and had some moments before. But Derek Carr last year, I think his stats were like career best. I mean, he looked decent. He looked really good last year. And there was that one Chiefs game where he played that one Chiefs game when they beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead.
Oh yeah,
he played lights out, and he had some really good games last year.
Good throws.
Jared Goff, he looked pretty bad most of last year.
Yeah.
So I think anyone they could probably get like a second or a third round pick for Derek Carr. I don't think they're getting a first, but
I would just pull the Jared Goff deal.
Seahawks take on Derek Carr.
Yeah, because the Raiders are going to have to unload that contract anyway. There's no way that they can have Russ and Derek Carr on their team and be paying that much for a backup. No, because I'm pretty sure they signed into a fat contract.
Yeah, he's making good money for sure.
So, and I mean, if you're Seattle, you get a quarterback who, again, isn't bad, and you probably get a haul of picks, which I believe the Raiders do have a great amount of first-round picks if they still have the Khalil Mack picks, which I don't know if they do or not.
I'm not sure how much stuff they have left from that trade.
They got 3 first-rounders, and what has it been? Has it been 2 or 3 years since that trade?
It's been since Nagy was there. So this,
2, 3?
This is 3. It's been 3 years with Khalil Mack.
Maybe they don't have any more picks from that trade.
Which, how hilarious would that be if part of the trade to get Russell Wilson would be to trade Khalil Mack? But I mean, he's been a beast for them. But the Bears and the Raiders should heavily consider Russell Wilson. The Saints and Cowboys are their 2 teams, and it all seems like signs are pointing to them re-signing Dak, the Cowboys. Yeah. They seem like they love him, and I know the contract.
They're kind of indifferent about him.
Well, the team seems to love him. Yeah, and I know Jerry probably loves him. Russell Wilson is a different conversation, I guess. I mean, that dude's gonna probably be a Hall of Famer. Right. And Dak has been really, really good for the years he's been there. I think their contract, it's not even a negotiation. They just seem like they're arguing back and forth about it. It's been like 2 or 3 years that they've been working on a deal. Last year he got the franchise tag. This year, as we're recording this, they haven't really decided yet. They could tag him again, but it's going to be
Can they? I thought they couldn't do it again.
They have one more chance to tag him.
Oh, okay.
And it's going to be a lot of money.
A ton.
I would guess they're going to re-sign Dak, and Russ Wilson will not be going there. Weird things have happened, but my gut feeling says that won't work. And the Saints seem like they're in cap hell. So
yeah, I can't see the Saints doing that. I really do want to see Jameis take that team over. I feel like
rather than Taysom Hill.
Oh my God, yes.
All right.
I can't stand Taysom Hill.
I'm kind of indifferent on both of them, to be honest with you. I think Jameis has a ton of problems. I think
Jameis has a ton of problems, but he also has a ton of things right with him. You know, he's the first quarterback ever. What was his record? I think he's the first quarterback.
30-30.
30-30.
Yeah.
30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, one season. He threw an ungodly amount of pick sixes that season too, which is so funny.
Did he I didn't watch him play much last year when he did play with the Saints. Does it seem like being a Sean Payton, he kind of like ironed that stuff out a bit? I mean,
I think so.
You would think it would benefit him being with Sean Payton just for that limited amount of time, because I don't think his coaches before that were anything to write home about, and he kind of just let bad habits take over and throw a bunch of.
He also had. Did you know this? He literally had LASIK eye surgery this past offseason because he couldn't see.
Yeah.
So I mean, give the guy a shot.
He's still like young too. I think he's like 26 or 25.
Same age as Mariota.
He's still young.
Another backup that could probably get a starting job somewhere. So I think I don't think it's going to be New Orleans. I think Dallas is interesting. I don't think it will be them either. Really, I think he's going to stay in Seattle.
Yeah,
I don't see that. I don't see Seattle trading him away. But I see Dallas re-signing Dak, maybe not this season, maybe franchise tagging him one more season and seeing how he is after that injury. And then
there's another wrinkle to this. Yeah, it's not really talked about as much. We can't really definitively say if he's going to get back on the field and be 100% same old Dak. So the problem with franchising him, and I know this discussion isn't really about Dak Prescott, but it isn't part of the equation. So, but the thing about the franchise tag with him is that If they franchise tag him again, I think that's the last time that they can do it.
Yeah.
And if he does sign with them again, he'll probably want a deal that's like 3 or 4 years. So he'll probably go back to the table for another deal with them later down the road. And they have no option to franchise tag him after that.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to pay him basically whatever he asks for or let him leave. So I really think they ought to just sign him now to the deal that he wants, see how this goes. And if they'll have the option to use the tag again later. Mm-hmm. is probably the better way to go, but we'll see if it goes anywhere. But I'm with you. I think he's just going to stick in Seattle, and they're going to have to figure it out because it's not working.
Yeah, man. Let Russ cook. All right, so switching focus now. So I did a Pro Football Reference rabbit hole. If you don't know what Pro Football Reference is, it's a website where it's basically Wikipedia for the NFL. Just every stat that you can possibly imagine. So I started this out, right, and I just typed in 2006 receiving leaders.
Why 2006, though?
Just random year.
Okay.
Yeah, just random year. First thing that caught my eye, and I really don't think that you'd be able to guess this, the 8th person in the entire league leading in receptions was a running back. You want to guess on who that was?
Okay, tell me the team, because I might not be able to guess the player.
St. Louis Rams.
Okay, so was it Steven Jackson?
Steven Jackson.
Okay, all right.
He had 90 receptions. When you think back to Steven Jackson, do you remember him as a pass-catching back?
No, I think of him as grounded pound, running up the middle.
He had 90 receptions and 800 yards in receiving.
Are you kidding me? Oh, my God.
He had TJ Hushmanzada had 90 receptions and had over 1,000 yards.
Oh, man.
So then I was like, all right, look, I want to see what he did in the rushing game. So I look over to the running game. He had 1,500 yards on the ground with 346 carries. But that's not the crazy stat. Larry Johnson of the Kansas City Chiefs, do you remember him?
Vaguely.
He had an NFL record, 416 carries in 2006.
How many yards?
He had 1,789 yards.
Was that like the years where they had just the worst quarterbacks imaginable?
Somebody like that.
Awful players.
So put that in perspective. A running back has reached 400 carries 4 times in NFL history.
Is he one of them?
Yeah, he leads. He has the record.
Oh my God!
He has the record with 416. That's the most ever in a season for a running back.
I can barely even remember the dude.
He averaged 26 carries a game.
Was this a flash in the pan anomaly?
So it's funny that you bring that up because he had 2 seasons where he reached 1,000 yards. Both seasons he reached 1,750 at least.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So 2006 he had 416 carries for 1,789. 2005 he had 336 carries for 1,750. And then after that, I think this is why teams don't do this anymore. He played 8 games the next season, had about 500 yards. Played 12 games the season after that. So I'm assuming those are injuries.
Yeah. Someone just came in and was better, but it's hard to believe that when you had 2 1,700 yard
back-to-back 1,700 yard seasons. And then I don't know if they traded him or released him, but then he went to Cincinnati, played 7 games there, didn't start one of them.
Oh.
And then went to maybe he was in Kansas City and they traded him, but he played 7 games in Kansas City, started all of them, and then maybe went to Cincinnati. I can't imagine that he leaves Kansas City, goes to Cincinnati, and then comes back to Kansas City to finish that season out.
Running backs fall off fast, man. It's the NFL.
The next season, he goes to Washington, plays 2 games in Washington, and then goes to Miami, plays 1 game in Miami, and then that's the end of his career.
Went out on a whimper.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
He was one of the best running backs in the league for 2 years, and then boom, gone.
Crazy.
And you would think that, just to put this into reference, in 2020, Derrick Henry,
right,
the league leader with 2,000 yards,
right,
had 378 attempts, which the next one on the list is Dalvin Cook with 312. So running back today is like they're lucky to get over 300 yards carried.
And Derrick Henry seems like he's kind of an anomaly because their offense moves through that dude.
Yeah.
Like, and Dalvin
he's the
Cook, definition
of a workhorse.
Yeah. He's kind of unique in the NFL, in today's NFL anyways. Like, there's not a lot of teams who do that. Dalvin Cook, I could see being the second closest thing, but they throw it a lot more.
Yeah. So you would think with 416 carries that this guy led the league in rushing yards.
Right.
Wrong.
Oh.
LaDainian Tomlinson, that was the year that LT went nuts. LT had 250, 76 less carries and 35 more yards. LT had 18-15. I believe this was the record at the time, 28 rushing touchdowns. And I'm pretty sure he threw for 3 touchdowns that season. 56 receptions, 500 yards, 3 catches through the passing game. I mean, he was the MVP that year.
Rivers was there, right? At that time?
I think Rivers might have been a rookie that year.
Okay. Yeah, it was a while.
Chargers go 14-2. Number 1 seed, losing the AFC Championship.
Oh, poor Chargers.
To the Indianapolis Colts. Oh. And Peyton Manning, who go on to beat the Bears in the Super Bowl. The other, as you know, I was scrolling through the 2006 leaders. Just have to bring this up because it relates to the Lions. Leader in pass completions that season, John Kitna.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Leader in sacks or being sacked for quarterbacks, John Kitna.
Well, I was going to say the NFL sack leader was certainly not on the Lions in 2006. No,
the leader of being sacked.
Yeah, that checks out. That
63 times.
Yeah, that's so horrible. Oh my God.
He lost 388 yards from being sacked.
Are you kidding me?
John Kitna. So, and then, the last thing that I saw that was kind of interesting, I was looking at the standings, and one thing that popped out to me was San Francisco missed the playoffs by 1 game this season. They went 7-9. Their point differential, they were outscored by 114 points.
So they were they were getting bombed by other teams, basically.
Yeah. What's shocking is, having 7 wins but being outscored by 114 points is pretty rare. It's only happened, I think, 2 other times since 2006. The 2011 Chiefs went 7-9 with, I want to say,
Matt Castle.
Could have been.
Because he had that little stint with the Patriots, and then he signed that deal with the Chiefs, and he was their guy for I think 5 years or something. He's there for a while.
Yeah. So they go 7-9, and I think they had more of a bigger point differential than 114 points. And then in 2018, the Dolphins did the same exact thing. 7-9, 104, outscored by 114 points.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think the largest one I saw on there was the 0-16 Lions as I was going through, and our point differential was probably close to 300 points.
That'd be fun to talk about of all the 0-16, or it's just 2 0-16 teams, I guess.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to compare their stats from their respective years. I know the NFL, when the Browns went 0-16 is a bit different when the Lions went 0-16, but it would be fun to look at.
Right. It's just crazy to, kind of look back at 2006 and see the running backs, the other thing that I noticed was Larry Johnson had all those carries. obviously carries don't count for anything in fantasy football, but he was second in points scored to LaDainian Tomlinson.
Yeah. That's probably close around to the time when we actually started getting into fantasy and like the NFL.
I think it was 2 years. 2 years before we got into it with the family league.
Yeah, because a lot of those guys that you're rattling off, like they definitely like, oh yeah, I remember them. Yeah. Like they were dominant players for a while for sure.
Rudy Johnson from the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't even remember him.
No.
I don't even know who that is. You got Willie Parker from Pittsburgh, who, God, what year did they have the Super Bowl in Detroit?
I think that was 2006. I think
that was his coming out party because Willie Parker had like a 50-yard touchdown run to start like the second half.
But didn't they have
Jerome
Bettis? Yeah. Okay.
They had Jerome Bettis. That team was actually very good, and
they won the championship. So,
God, Edgerrin James,
know that name.
Yeah, Jamal Lewis, Frank Gore.
Frank Gore's still playing.
That's true. Chester Taylor.
Oh, I remember him. He was in the Cardinals for a while.
He was on Minnesota that year in 2006. Thomas Jones for the Bears.
That doesn't. Yeah.
He was on the Jets when we were playing fantasy football. I remember picking him one year, I'm pretty sure. Work done. Geez. Just some wacky names from 2006 that I hardly even remember.
It's a unique time.
It was. It truly was. 2006 was a wild year in the NFL. Let's go Lions! All right, to close out the show, two passionate Lion fans talk about what should be considered one of the darkest 3-season span in Detroit Lions history.
After looking back at it now, it could be a new low. I know 0-16 is usually the thing that everyone kind of jumps out and says, oh, they're the worst team ever. But now if you look at the numbers from especially last year's defense and just all the time that they were here, all the mistakes that were made, this was a very bad era of Detroit Lions football.
Yeah. The other thing, and the reason why I think it's even worse than 0-16, that era, is that the Lions were not far out from possibly winning a playoff game.
Yeah.
I think we went like 11-5 or 12-4 one season, and then back-to-back 9-7 teams.
Yeah, 11-5 with Jim Caldwell.
Yeah. And then we fired Caldwell. Bob Quinn came in probably like a year or two before that.
Yeah, he was. Right? His Bob Quinn's first year, I believe, was Caldwell's last year. He said, "Okay, we'll give Caldwell a shot here because it's been some success recently." Yeah. But
infamous, 9-7 is not good enough line comes out of that press conference, and the Lions go shopping and pick up.
Well, they go shopping, but he already knew when he got the job who he wanted. He wanted his buddy.
Yep. He gets his buddy from the New England Patriots, Matt Patricia.
And I apologize because I'm going to sound really angry for a lot of this segment because it's just impossible to be a fan of this team and not look back at these last couple seasons with just utter disgust of how terrible this whole thing went. Yeah. And I didn't mean to derail you here, but we burned through our last year's Matthew Stafford with this regime.
Yep.
He is unquestionably, and we'll talk about Stafford being traded too, but we kind of wanted to break down this being the catalyst of where the Lions are going now because of Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn's failings. But yeah, they had him for 3 years, playing really good football for a majority of it.
Yeah.
And now we have to package him up, send him to LA, and we're burning this thing down and start, ground zero.
Yeah. So they bring in Matt Patricia, defensive guru.
Genius.
The
rocket scientist.
Self-proclaimed rocket scientist. Yep. And they didn't make a whole lot of changes to the team right out the gate. It was mainly they kept around the keystones.
I think the only big thing they did when he got here, was it Patricia's first year or second year they signed Trey Flowers?
I believe it was the second year.
Because that was the biggest Quinn Patricia signing that they made while they were here, for sure.
Yeah. That other former Patriots, Amendola.
Duron
Harmon.
Jamie Collins.
Yeah. So I'm going to start out with what I believe was the absolute peak of this era. And it was the first game. Tell me you don't remember this so vividly. Monday Night Football. First game of the season. First game of Matt Patricia's head coaching career.
Versus the New York Jets.
The New York Jets. Sam Darnold's first career game. They start out. I remember the play so unbelievably vividly. But I can't remember who intercepted the ball. But Darnold rolls out to the right, throws across the field, cross body, which you never do as a quarterback.
This is his first snap as an NFL quarterback.
First play of the game.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention. We intercept it, take it back to the house, pick 6, Ford Field erupts.
Yeah, no, it was – we've been to a lot of Lions games. That was like top 3 loudest I've ever heard it in that building. Yeah, it was insane.
Peak of this era. And then after that, downhill. One of Stafford's worst career games. He threw, I think, 3 or 4 interceptions. It comes out after the game that the Jets knew like all our signals.
Yep. Which, by the way, that's not an anomaly either.
No.
There was recently, even this season, Mitch Trubisky saying, "Yeah, we knew what they were going to do."
Yeah.
Like fourth quarter,
it does seem like a theme.
It happened several times during Matt Patricia's illustrious tenure as the Lions head coach.
And the rumors were swirling a little bit before this first game that Patricia had already lost the locker room. But after that, it really caught fire.
Well, yeah, it was a big tonal shift when he got here because it was, Jim Caldwell was a player's guy. They all played hard for him and they liked him. And we're not going to be revisionist history and say that Jim Caldwell should have stayed and we should not have fired him. No,
hindsight's always 20/20.
We wanted to go further, and that's the decision they made to hire to hire Matt Patricia. But the problem was when he got here, he played with the attitude of the Patriot way without ever coaching his own team and coming into a new team saying, no, this is the way we do things, Patriot football, whatever. And it just was not a good mesh. It turned a lot of guys off immediately. He lost the locker room pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And the results on the field were also terrible. So why should anyone buy into what he's saying? I mean, what was his record?
13-29-1. He goes 6-10 the first year, 3-12-1 in 2019, and he went 4-7 for the 11 games that he coached in 2020. So we were pretty bad.
We were pretty amped about the signing when it happened. I mean, the Patriots are the Patriots.
I believe he was coming off the Super Bowl win against the Seahawks when they intercepted that ball in the end zone. Maybe not, actually. I can't remember.
Actually,
it was the Eagles.
Yeah.
It was the Eagles game. And I remember then thinking, okay, that's interesting because they had a horrible Super Bowl defensively.
Yeah.
They got outscored. I think if I'm not mistaken, Philadelphia put up 40 points.
Yeah, it was a high-scoring game. I don't remember the exact number, but yeah, it was.
So, looking back at that first season, we lose to the Jets 48-17.
It's so bad.
The Jets, who
were they weren't the Adam Gase Jets yet, but they were the last death rattle of Todd Bowles Jets.
Horrible.
Yeah, really bad.
We then go on to lose to the San Francisco 49ers. And that game was extremely controversial. It was Garoppolo's second start as the 49ers quarterback, and the Lions actually played a good game. I'm trying to remember, I believe in the fourth quarter, we were just about to get a stop, down 3, with some time on the clock, and there was a third down. I believe there was a bogus holding call on the Lions. And the reason I remember this so vividly is because my dad popped another blood vessel watching that game. Just absolutely erupted. So we lose that game. And then we go on to beat the Patriots on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, so we were talking about the height of the Matt Patricia era, that being that first play in the Jets game. For him, I bet it was the Patriots win because he beat old Bill. And the thing about it is when he was here, it didn't always feel like a lost cause. Like there were some games where we kind of were hanging in there and we looked like we could compete at least. But we never could finish games. No. They even down to the embarrassing dagger time slogan that came last year.
I completely forgot
our
about
team
that.
mantra of the last season was dagger time, meaning that let's go finish this. Let's go, get the win. And we were worse than ever. First game we blow like what? Two possession lead. Swift drops a touchdown in the end zone. Yeah, that was the definition of dagger time. You catch that ball, we win the game. Yeah. So there were so many. I could go all day with just the terrible losses he had. Like, he played that PJ Walker Panthers team, and an XFL quarterback who they signed off the streets and had never started the NFL. He beat us convincingly. Yeah. I think he threw like 2 picks, but like still, the Panthers aren't even that good right now. They're supposed to be lower on the totem pole than we were at that point. We're supposed to be a fringe playoff team, but they're like in the basement rebuilding, and they smoked us with PJ Walker. I mean, there's a ton of games like that throughout his tenure, and I think it's aggravating as a fan because the bill of goods that we were sold with these two is that these are the pieces that we need to go over the top, and like we're gonna get over the hump of just getting to the playoffs, getting a win in the playoffs, which we haven't had since I've been alive.
No, we've never seen it in our lifetime.
So, it's so frustrating to just watch this era come down in flames, and the team is absolutely decimated, and it was all for some of the worst football in Detroit Lions history, and the whole time we were being told that, no, this is the right way. We're doing this the right way, the Patriot way, blah, blah, blah.
So we get that win over the Patriots, drop 1 to Dallas, super close game. We then go on to beat the Packers in Ford Field.
Yep.
31-23.
But if I'm not mistaken, that was the year Aaron Rodgers was not playing because of an injury.
Well, he played that game, and I remember because we sacked him a lot.
Okay.
That was the game with Mason Crossbar.
Yeah. Okay.
He misses 5 field. I think he misses like 4 field goals and an extra point, or 3 field goals and 2 extra points. But we go on to win that one, and then we rattle off a back-to-back win against the Miami Dolphins. And that game was important because Kerryon Johnson became the first Lions running back to reach 100 yards since 2011 Reggie Bush on Thanksgiving Day.
And it's weird what happened with Kerryon too. He's one of those players that I don't know if it was because he had too much personality or whatever, but he just got in bad with Patricia, and this last season he was basically a third down back. I mean, if that. Yeah. I mean, they signed Adrian Peterson off the street, and the dude took a majority of the carries for the first month of the season or so. Yeah. And Swift obviously kind of blew up and became the clear-cut starter. But Kerryon Johnson.
And I think he's going to have a spot on the team for a while. A lot of people say that he's the best, running back that picks up a blitz and is like insanely good at pass blocking, which I think he is. And so I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. He's, he'll get a couple carries a game.
I think he's maybe got a year or two left on his deal too. Yeah. He's still got some time to be here.
So, it's astonishing, like he really did look like the guy his first season. And, last 2 years, 2019, a lot of injuries. And then this past year, Swift and AP coming on board.
Yeah.
He definitely took the back seat in that. But the 3 other wins that season were the Carolina Panthers, who we beat off them missing a 2-point conversion. We beat them by 1 point. They scored the touchdown late in the game. They go for 2 and miss. We end up winning. The Arizona Cardinals, we beat 17-3. And then we beat the Packers in Lambeau. which I think this was the first time we beat them in Lambeau in a very long time.
Yeah, we weirdly have actually had some success against the Packers in the last couple of years. Like last year, no, but it's usually a completely one-sided affair. Yeah. And I will say during Caldwell's time and Patricia's time, at least it seemed like a more competitive game against Green Bay, when normally we just get blown out. Yeah. Except, again, last year. Not good, but
we beat them 31-0. But that was when Aaron Rodgers was out.
Yeah, right.
So,
and I think that was a lot of those crap games like that helped him keep his job.
Probably,
and Bob Quinn too, to a degree.
Yeah. So they finished the year 6-10, fourth in the NFC North. Packers still had a better record than us, even though we beat them twice.
Yep.
And then in 2019. Let's see. We start the year with a tie against the Arizona Cardinals, which blown fourth quarter lead.
Yeah.
I think they were up at least like 10 points late in the fourth.
Yep.
They blew that. This is, we joked about when the peak was. I actually think that this first 4 weeks was the peak of the Quinn Patricia era. We beat the Chargers 13-10.
Yep.
Ugly game, extremely boring.
We beat the Eagles.
The Eagles almost blew another fourth quarter lead, but beat the Eagles. So through 3 weeks, we're 2-0-1 going against I believe at the time, the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs.
Right. Yeah, you're right, because
blown fourth quarter lead.
Yep. And there are people, I remember listening to the local radio stations driving around and talking about all week, not even all week, for weeks afterwards, even into this last season. Man, we almost beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs are a Super Bowl team. We were holding our own against them. Like all the Patricia Kool-Aid drinkers, that was their go-to argument. But before Stafford went out, which there's a whole conspiracy theory there as well. But yeah, before he went out, we were 2-1-1 or something. It's like, bro, it's broken. The whole thing's broken.
Yeah. That was a great game, though. There were a couple questionable things. And, every Lions fan has this moment where we try to, blame everything on the refs. But there was an extremely questionable call against Kansas City where Carry-On fumbled on the 1 yard line. And they picked it up, and nobody was doing anything, but the refs just didn't blow the whistle. So Kansas City ran it all the way back. And then they reviewed it, deemed that they couldn't overturn it because there wasn't enough evidence. And Kansas City got a free touchdown out of it.
Yep.
So that was extremely questionable. But
we could do a whole 2-hour podcast on the Lions versus the refs. I mean, there are countless examples of crap like that.
Regardless of all that, though, we had Kansas City down in the fourth quarter with less than 2 minutes and 4th and 10 in their own territory. And they let Patrick Mahomes scramble for a first down. And then after that, it was game over. They went right down the field and scored.
Patrick Mahomes, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt in almost any game. I mean, give that dude the ball, and they've got a chance to come back and win for sure if they're down, if they haven't outscored you by 50 points.
And then the game after that, Monday Night Football against the Packers. Extremely brutal game to watch.
That's the most infamous one, right? The Trey Flowers holding calls.
Back-to-back illegal hands to the face on Trey Flowers when the Packers were dead to rights, giving them another breath of life, and they go on to beat us 23-22.
That was a really hard game to watch, because that was the point in the Matt Patricia era when it was like
there's some hope.
You're seeing some glimmers sometimes, but then they just burn. They just burn it all down, and it's so aggravating to watch. It was just the absolute pinnacle of those kind of games, you know.
And the thing that was like really fueling this was we were seeing some really creative and unique play calling from Bevel
for the first quarter.
Yeah.
Or first drive.
This year, I feel like it was, it wasn't that scripted 15 plays. This one was a little bit different. I feel like he was calling a good game throughout, but it was really good like at the start of the game because he was letting Stafford air that ball out. I remember the Packers game started with like
flea flicker.
A flea flicker bomb put us on like the 10-yard line, but we couldn't punch it in.
I know those were some of the best moments, just being able to watch like some creativity. And then by the time we're in the fourth quarter, God forbid with the lead, we're just running it up the middle and getting a gain of 2, punting the ball, giving the team the ball back. And guess what? They came back and won. I mean, that was all too common with this regime.
And then, so after that game, we're 2-2-1. They lose to the Vikings at Ford Field by 12. And then they beat the Giants at Ford Field 31-26. So they're 3-3-1.
The Giants stunk around that time, by the way.
They were horrible.
That was a game that, like, it was that close.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing. The Giants were terrible.
They're 3-3-1 at this point. They finished 3-12-1. They didn't win another game for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
They go on to lose to Oakland by a touchdown. They lose to the Bears by a touchdown. They lose to Dallas by a touchdown. They lose to the Redskins by a field goal. They lose to the Bears by 4 points. And then we lose to the Vikings by 2. We get crushed by the Bucs.
But
we get crushed by Denver. And then we lose to the Packers by 3.
Wasn't that the stint of games where Stafford was not playing?
Yeah, Stafford was not playing. I think after – it was against the Chicago Bears that his first game he sat out.
Yeah. I know we had a little mixture of Jeff Driscoll for a while afterwards.
And David Blau.
Yeah.
So that was probably what brought Quinn back for another year.
Right. Yeah. That was again, a bill of goods we were being sold was that, well, you know, injuries. And I remember that year seeing a bunch of guys pop up on IR all the time. And it'd be like, why is he on IR? Like, it was kind of weird. And Stafford's injury was very vague and they didn't like get into the specifics on it. But yeah, it saved their asses for another year for sure.
Yeah. So the next season he coaches, 7 games. What was it, 11? Yeah, he finishes
through Thanksgiving.
Yes, he finishes 4-7 in that time period, and looking at this, we lose to the Bears in Week 1. We blow that fourth quarter lead, get crushed by the Packers, beat the Cardinals by 3 points, but we had 3 turnovers.
Yeah,
we caused 3 turnovers compared to them causing 0 on our side.
Yeah.
We lose to the Saints after jumping up 14-0 and then being outscored 35 points to 0.
Yeah, that's another really hard one to watch.
We beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, nothing to be proud of. We beat the Atlanta Falcons off a
Todd Gurley run that he fell short of. Oh, man.
Yes.
He went in for the touchdown. Yeah, gave us more time to come back and score.
Yes. Yeah, so it gave us time. I think they were up. Yeah, they were up 22-16. Yeah, because we go down the field, we score that touchdown. Hawk makes a great play.
Yeah,
and then Amendola and who was the other wide receiver? I can't remember. Maybe it was. It might have been Marvin Hall.
Cephas.
It may have been Agnew. I can't imagine that was Agnew. But it was Amendola and one other wide receiver are in the end zone, ripping their helmets off and celebrating.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a 15-yard penalty each. So they back up the extra point. I'm pretty sure Prater had to kick a 50-yarder for the win, or otherwise we're going to overtime.
Yeah.
Luckily, Matt Prater is, one of the best kickers in the NFL at times.
Yeah, at times.
Knocks it through. They go on to win that game.
That was a gift, though. It was a gift from the football gods.
That was a gift.
Todd Gurley should have just fell short of the end zone.
If he falls short,
the clock,
they run out the clock. The win. Yep. And then after that, they lose to the Colts, get crushed. They lose to the Vikings, get crushed. They beat the Redskins 30-27.
Sorry, the Washington football team.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. Washington football team. 30-27, but that was also another game where they were this close to blowing it.
Yeah.
If you can't, this is a podcast, so you can't see my fingers, but they are extremely close together at the moment. They were that close to blowing it once again in the fourth quarter. That was just like such a theme this past season, blowing in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
at least in the early games.
And again, dagger time.
Dagger time.
That was the mantra for the year.
We go on to lose. This is when things really started to go south. If they were south, this is when they were like on the border of Mexico and Texas, so south. They lose to the Carolina Panthers 20-0,
which we
briefly touched on it. But PJ Walker, a man who was playing in the XFL months before this game, comes in and beats the Lions 20-0. And then Thanksgiving happens. They lose 41-25 to the Houston Texans, Texans were horrible
last year, and they're horribly dysfunctional. But they came in and looked like they were a well-oiled machine.
Offense that was easily the best the offense looked for the Texans.
I think J.J. Watt had a touchdown in that game.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly,
absolutely. He had a pick six.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think he probably had one of his 5 sacks that game too.
Probably he could have had all 5 for
yeah.
A nice little run down memory lane of all the Matt Patricia coached games. As you can see, there's not really a whole lot of positives to talk about.
No.
We're definitely making the right decision moving away from these two guys. And did you want to touch on Bob Quinn's draft history and free agency assets a little bit before we wrap up here?
Yeah, let's go through his draft history. So Quinn's draft history starts in 2016. First round, 16th overall, Taylor Decker. Great start.
Good pick.
Great start. Guy has had a wonderful career with us.
Yeah, he's been a good player.
Yeah,
for sure.
He's been a good player. Second pick, A'Shawn Robinson, defensive tackle.
Solid, but no longer with us.
No.
I mean, he was a competent player. A lot of injuries.
So, not great. Graham Glasgow, who was a good pick. Yeah. He's no longer on the team. They ended up letting him walk.
Yeah.
So, a good pick for the time being, but not re-signing him was probably a mistake.
Bob Quinn did have a pretty good eye for offensive line talent. Yeah. I mean, in the time that he was here, he's actually leaving us with a pretty solid unit in the NFL.
Probably the best one we've had in years.
Yeah, I mean, Frank Ragnow is legit. I mean, he's a top 10 center for sure in the NFL.
Yeah. Round 4 was Miles Killebrew, who was,
just a role player.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't a horrible pick. Lions fans liked him. I liked him. But he was definitely not a starting safety.
No. He's absolutely not.
And then round 5 was Joe Dahl, who's still with the team now.
Yeah, another good lineman pick.
Yeah. For a backup lineman, could be worse.
Sure.
Yeah. And then linebacker Antoine Williams, I believe.
Yeah, I don't even know his name.
Didn't even make the team.
Yeah.
So probably not a good pick.
So overall, your first year draft.
Not bad.
Yeah, they've got some quality players on the offensive line, but other than that, kind of forgettable.
All right, so 2017, first round pick, Jared Davis.
This is probably his worst pick as GM because he went 16th, you said?
I believe so, somewhere around there.
Yeah, so I remember hearing recently that we had an opportunity to potentially take TJ Watt instead of him, but we didn't. Reuben Foster was on the board at the time. I know there was a lot of character questions with him when he was coming out of the draft, which is kind of why he slipped. But I mean, the list could go on for players we could have taken instead of Jared Davis. The dude has been the definition of a bust with the system. And in Florida, in college, he was a good player, and he's got all the physical tools to be a really good NFL player, but it just did not work out here.
So they don't send the linebackers on blitzes. They never send them on blitzes. I think he would be a good blitzing linebacker.
Yeah.
He's fast, he's quick.
He's big, he's huge.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Physically a beast.
But he can't cover anybody. He couldn't, he's so bad in coverage.
Yeah.
And I really think his tackling is very questionable too.
I really was hoping that the last year that we had him here, because we did not re-sign him for a 5th-year option. I assume we're just going to let him walk because
I assume so too.
Weirdly, he's got some good PFF stats, and I could see someone paying money for him. But I'm surprised. I would have liked to see them maybe just put him in an edge rusher and see how it goes. I mean, our defensive line last year was really bad, and if anything, just let the dude rush the passer and try to get sacks.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
if anything.
Like, him, and we could talk about him more once we get to him.
Tavai, yeah.
Which
maybe
we're putting a pin in that right now because
Okay.
Yeah. Round 2 for 2017, Tease Tabor.
Yeah. Actually, I just said Jared Davis was his worst pick. No, Tease Tabor was his worst pick.
Tease Tabor was his worst pick.
Yeah.
He's got absolutely horrible cornerback.
He's got quotes saying about how much tape he's watched at Tease Tabor and how much he loved Tease Tabor.
Yeah.
And like that he studied him a ton. And I'm just like,
horrible.
What are you thinking with this pick? I think he maybe played like a season's worth of not starting reps, but like in the rotation, and he got cut. I mean, he was gone pretty quickly here. I don't know how many of the drafts. I can already think of 2 guys that we can say this about, but this was a classic. Bob, I'm the smartest guy in the room. Quinn pick. Smartest. Okay, I don't want to be mean, but okay. Yeah. So he believes that he knows better than everybody else, and decides to go with Tease Tabor, who ends up being horrible. I'll tell you my other one in a second. Round 3, probably his best pick, Kenny Galladay. Yep. Yeah. I mean, what else can you say about Kenny Galladay? No, he's since Calvin's been gone. Yeah, he's been our best offensive player besides Stafford. The dude is. We're currently hoping that we're going to re-sign him. He's going to need a bag of money to stay unless we franchise tag him. But no, he's a legit number 1 receiver. I was kind of skeptical on him for a while because I remember everyone kind of crowning him pretty early, saying this dude's a beast. And I was kind of like, well, let's see it a little bit. Our record stinks. Our offense isn't that good. And now every year he's been here, he's gotten better, and he's a legit number 1. And I'm sure if we don't re-sign him, he's going to get a big contract from someone else. So the 3rd round pick is a very good steal. As far as speaking as like position roles or position areas throughout the Quinn Trisha era, wide receiver was one that we never had to worry about. He also signed Marvin Jones, one of the best 1-2 punches in the league. Yeah. Marvin Jones on one side, Kenny Galladay on the other. And you wouldn't have thought that Marvin Jones coming from Cincinnati, the Bengals, would be like anything sensational. Yeah, just like a definitive, no-brainer starter. But he has made some sensational catches. Yeah, his last game that he's played here, he had almost 200 yards against the Vikings or something like that. He had a crazy good game. So yeah, he was a good selection by Bob Quinn as well. So round 4, linebacker Jalen Reeves-Maybin. Nothing of note on this guy. Nothing of note. He's on the team. He's a player on the roster. I'll leave it at that. Another round 4 pick, tight end Michael Roberts. No. Who? Bad pick. Bad pick. Bad pick. Round 5, Jamal Agnew. Good pick. Leave it at that. Not a good pick, actually, because... You don't think so? No, because they drafted him as a corner. The dude returned punts, and he's a converted wide receiver. Okay, well... I mean, he's made... For what he was drafted for, bad pick. He made a spot for himself on the team because he is a gifted athlete. Okay, so we won't credit good pick to Bob. No, absolutely. We'll credit good pick to Jamal Agnew. Yeah, I'll credit Jamal Agnew for being able to adapt and make a role for himself, but I'm not going to say Bob Quinn made a good pick with him because he was drafted to be a cornerback. Give me a break. Totally fair. All right. That was so bad. Outside of Kenny Galladay, that was so I didn't even remember. So that was the one. That was the one pick from that draft. So far, two picks: Taylor Decker, Kenny Galladay. Yeah. 2018. Round 1, 20th overall, Frank Ragnow. Yeah. Good pick. Yeah, you could, besides Kenny, argue that that's his best pick. Yeah. Frank Ragnow was an absolute stud, and every year, just like Kenny, he's getting better. Yeah. He made his first Pro Bowl last year. He is the anchor of this offensive line. Yeah, broken throat. Yeah, he's the anchor of this offensive line for sure. Good pick. Round 2, Kerryon Johnson. I think the jury's out, to be honest, man. I don't like. It pains me to say, but not a great pick for a second-round running back. No. He's flashed. Yes, he is definitely flashed. But unfortunately, unless he starts getting some carries this year, I think it's unfortunate to say that he's
probably not a good pick for where we got him.
Yeah, we were just talking about he's basically been relegated to being a third down back at best in this most recent year. So, we'll see what happens with the new regime. But
round 3, Tracy Walker, safety Tracy Walker.
Yeah, people like him.
Not a bad pick.
Yeah,
I'll throw this one in the middle tier.
It's really hard to give credit for picks like this when we just finished the year as the worst defense in the league
by far.
So I know he's flashed as well.
He's flashed. He had 103 tackles as a safety, which when you really think about it, great stat for a safety, horrible stat for the defense. Because that means that if our safety's tackling the people the most, that means that they're getting by everybody except our safety.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that they liked him so much that it was part of the reason that they traded Quandre Diggs to the Seahawks.
Probably.
Because I remember it was either Quinn or Patricia was on the podium talking about that trade, saying we love the depth we have in the safety position, which is a farce.
Now looking at it,
it's a farce.
Horrible.
So he's an acceptable player. I think hopefully with I think Aaron Glenn is coming over as the DB coach. Hopefully we can get some improvement out of him, and he'll be a guy that he's still really young. He could turn it around. Yeah. We'll see.
Round 4, defensive end Deshaun Hand.
Yeah, this is a good pick.
Yeah.
I mean,
injuries, the health hasn't really been there for him, but hopefully he can turn it around. Round 5, offensive tackle Terrell Crosby. For a backup
serviceable player. Yeah.
Serviceable player. Could be worse. All right. 2019. TJ Hawkinson, round 1, eighth overall.
Yeah, I think that's the problem.
That's the.
He's a beast.
He's a good player,
but we could have also had Ed Oliver.
Yeah.
Or a dominant defensive player, but I don't hate the pick. I really like him.
I do too.
I think he's an awesome dude, an awesome player. Yeah. And I think he's going to be a cornerstone of the team moving forward. And Stafford needed more weapons at the time. Yeah. So, I think people were salty about Eric Ebron, so it made the pick kind of unpopular around here. But
makes sense.
He was a really good player available, and I don't hate the pick.
No,
it's fine.
Round 2. Yalani Tavai.
I'll let you just go in.
This is the other I'm Bob Quinn, I'm the smartest guy in the room, I know what I'm doing pick. Because he reached so far on this guy.
Was he even projected to be a third?
He was projected to be a 4th round pick.
Yeah.
And I'm almost positive, I remember hearing this story, that people were murmuring that all the Patriots like this guy.
No.
So he takes him in the 2nd round. Yalani Tavai couldn't tackle an infant child on the football field. He is outstandingly bad at football.
Yeah.
By far, in my opinion, the worst pick made in the Quinn Patricia era has been Yalani Tavai. He's had a couple sacks here and there. Again, I'll say the same thing I said about Jared Davis. I don't think he's bad at rushing the quarterback. But they don't do that. So we don't see that a whole lot from him. He is just so bad at tackling. He's so bad in coverage. He is so bad, period.
Do we really, though, it could be that Patricia's scheme was just that bad.
I've also been saying
Davis,
that.
They're physically gifted, and they seem like smart dudes. I mean,
some guys really, don't seem as bad as they should be. But Yalani Tavai, if he can get into a new system and actually be good, great. I'll believe it when I see it. Because he is just that bad, in my opinion.
I'm mostly in agreement with you.
Yeah. Round 3, safety Will Harris.
Kind of in the same Tracy Walker vein, except I think Will Harris is worse than Tracy Walker. So
I probably agree with that.
So, I don't have much of an opinion on it. he's serviceable at best.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be playing a whole lot. So who knows? We'll have to wait and see. All right, round 4, edge rusher Austin Bryant.
I think he's played decent. No, I think he's played decent at times. He's not a notable player, as I'm saying who, but compared to all the other junk we've had on our defensive line, I think he's been okay. I don't know. He's not good.
I really don't know anything about this guy.
No one on this team is defensively is like a guaranteed like check mark. Yep, that's a starter. Like none of these guys
are. Round 5, Amani Oruwariye. I'm pretty proud of myself for pronouncing his name correctly.
Yeah,
I think
that was good. No, he's actually kind of decent.
Yeah, no, he seems to be CB1, if not CB2.
Yeah,
depending on Okuda.
If we're moving on from Trufant, we are moving on from Trufant. Okuda struggled last year, and I think PFF number wise, I believe Oruwariye was ranked higher than Okuda. So they were all in the basement in terms of corners, but
he had some good moments. He had some bad moments.
Yeah.
Overall, round 5, not a bad pick.
Sure.
All right, and in 2020,
I just want to say for 2020, because
it's tough.
We were in quarantine, and I remember we had like a little virtual draft party, and we were just having some beers and like watching, the picks get made. And I remember at the time thinking like, wow, he actually seemingly had a pretty good draft.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to look back at everything now and see if that still holds up. I remember at the time I was drinking the Kool-Aid, and I thought it was a nice draft.
So 3rd overall, Jeff Okuda.
Okay, well, it's hard to say.
But he had some bad games.
Yeah.
Some very bad games last season.
It's
exciting to see him in a new system.
Yeah. Just in terms of him being the number 3 overall pick, I mean, this is probably his biggest mistake.
Yeah.
And he was doing it because we traded away Darius Slay.
Yeah.
And we needed to fill that hole, and he is the top corner prospect. And coming out of college,
a lot of people thought he was going to be very, very good.
There are people trying to trade up to get him. Yeah. I mean, like he was a legit prospect coming out. And the problem is that Bob Quinn played the game the wrong way with the draft. In this instance, he should have been kind of flirting with the idea more of, maybe we like Tua, maybe we like Justin Herbert. Stafford's kind of been injured this last couple of years. Maybe we're thinking about it. No one called him. No one called him for number 3 because they knew, okay, well, they're going to take Jeff Okuda. There's no one else. Maybe Derek Brown. Apparently, Patricia wanted Derek Brown over Okuda. But, there was no opportunity for us to trade back and get more capital and probably still get Jeff Okuda, to be honest. We could have moved back and got him. So if we're looking at it as terms of the number 3 overall pick, bust. I mean, it's hard to say after
right now.
But if we're talking about this second,
it's always dangerous taking a corner that high, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So revisionist history, we should have taken Justin Herbert.
Hindsight's 2020. Whoa. You jumped the gun there.
What?
Taking Justin Herbert?
Yeah.
No.
Over who?
I'm not. Okay, well, revisionist history taking anybody now, but at the time, are you saying that we should have taken Justin Herbert? Because Stafford was coming off while having an injured back. He was playing lights out.
If you're asking me sitting here right now in 2021, I would have loved to have traded Matthew Stafford for more than we even got this time and get Justin Herbert.
Nah, but I can't agree with that.
They weren't going to do it because the spot that they were in and it was a make it or break it year. So obviously that wouldn't have happened. If you're asking me for a more realistic take of who they should have picked, they should have traded back, but they could have maybe taken Derek Brown. Maybe it would have been better. I don't know. You got anyone you're thinking that maybe would be better?
The only other one that was in question was Isaiah Simmons, who actually had my vote because I've been saying it for years now, but the linebacking core needs to change. They need a better linebacking core.
He wasn't very good in Arizona.
But obviously hindsight's 2020.
We clearly don't know how to use high-end linebackers.
Clearly.
High-end in air quotes, I'm saying.
But we can play revisionist history later. Yeah. Round 2, Deandre Swift, good pick.
Yeah, and he looked really good. like this season, and he looks like he's going to be the guy.
Yeah.
But when you're picking that high in the second round, it's basically a first-round pick.
Yeah.
I mean, do we think that he was worth where he was picked? Yeah, I do. I think he balled out.
I mean, you compare him from Carrion to Swift. I mean, both second-round picks. Swift right now seems light years better than Carrion.
I'm really excited to see what Deuce Staley does with him in the new offense. And Carrion too, but Swift legit with a good offensive line. He could be top 10 back.
Yeah.
He looks really good last year.
Yeah. Round 3, Romeo's little brother, Julian Okora.
Yeah, no comment. He didn't play. He barely played.
Yeah, he really didn't. He was a healthy scratch in week 3, which is astonishing.
That means. Yeah.
It means that he didn't even make the active roster. And I'm pretty sure when people are injured, they're considered scratches. And when people are not considered injured and a scratch, it's a healthy scratch.
I guess I just mean more so in
why does
healthy scratch of why is he a healthy scratch?
Yeah.
Never got any answers on it.
No. So who knows? Round 3, again, we had 2 round 3 picks. I think this was the Eagles pick. Jonah Jackson.
Oh, so this was part of
the Darius Slay trade.
Okay, well, I won't say it was
Jonah Jackson's a good player.
Jonah Jackson's a good player, and he's probably going to be a starter on this offensive line.
Yeah. Round 4, John Simpson. I don't remember seeing this guy on the field last year. So no comment there. Round 4 again, another guard, Logan Stenberg.
I think he was injured last year, so he didn't play or something.
I do remember. I roughly remember hearing him play a little bit in the early season, so you might have been right that he got injured later on.
Okay.
But I do like him, and I like him because he is all about smash mouth football. He's a Kentucky boy. He's like the offensive version of Bounty Ball.
I like it, but I'm just looking at it from the year we just had. Where are the defense picks? I mean,
I've been saying that for a long time too.
We cut our 2 best defensive linemen, and our defense was bad the year before. What were they expecting was going to happen?
Well, don't worry. We got 4 more picks. So, round 5, Quintez Cephas.
I think jury's out, but he had some okay plays.
He had some okay plays. Round 5, Jason Huntley, a running back. I don't even know if he made the roster. No. And now round 6 and round 7 is when we get to the defensive picks.
Oh, good.
Scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, nice.
John Pennicini, who actually played a lot last year. And I don't believe he really made an impact. But I don't think he was bad either.
He had to.
Considering.
He had to have been bad. If you're on this defense, you were bad last year. I'm sorry, but there's literally so few flashes of good play from this defense last year. It was so atrocious.
Yeah, no. And then round 7, defensive end from Ohio State, Ja'Shawn Cornell. I don't even know if he made the team. So he probably did because we have very minimal defensive linemen. But
skeleton crew.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the end. Looking back, he had probably like every GM, he has some hits. He has some very bad misses.
Yeah, I think the misses outweigh.
Oh, absolutely. Especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, we went through everything and
he had some good offensive picks.
Yeah, you can probably say 5 or 6 players legit were pretty good.
Yeah.
To great. But the rest just almost forgettable.
Yeah. So I feel now, we didn't really go over the free agent acquisitions, but that's fine.
Yeah. Trey Flowers being the most notable, probably just
absolutely
huge Patriot contract and just
we basically signed the Patriots trash for a couple of years.
Jesse James was a horrible signing.
That was really bad. So we can go into it, but let's just close the book on this era.
That's making me sad.
And start looking forward to a new era of Metallica Dan Campbell, and Brad Holmes, who we can start getting into them in the next podcast and kind of start going over what they've been doing. All right, well, thank you for listening to the first ever Gridiron Zeroes podcast. We appreciate you coming along for the ride. Be sure to tune in to the next one. Hopefully putting that out sometime next week. We'll be going over, again, general news in the NFL and kind of covering Brad Holmes and Metallica Dan's start here in Detroit. And then some sort of fun, wacky segment in between that.
Been a really fun first episode. Hope to have you guys back.
Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.